particular has a lot to do with Rachel Zegler's firing situation. We already talked about how she was let go from various projects by the Walt Disney Company, including doing voiceover work for Toy Story 5. Particular has a lot to do with Rachel Zegler's firing situation.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Weird.
And how Rachel Zegler disrespected the original and a classic from Walt Disney, something that completely saved Disney and changed the company and changed animation in general.
Now, ever since the debut of Snow White, it has been nothing more than a box office disaster, not just for the Walt Disney Company and Bob Iger as the CEO, but also for Rachel Zegler.
Inexplicably continued to post herself in an empty theater for her own movie. She's literally the only person there. And do you not understand how humiliating this is?
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
What happens when the Magic Kingdom itself starts running out of magic? When even Disney, the global symbol of dreams, childhood wonder, and fairy tale endings, finds itself tangled in controversy, backlash, and a box office disaster so big that even a magic mirror couldn't hide it? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the chaos behind Disney's Snow White 2025 remake, the shocking firing of Rachel Zegler, and how a simple retelling of a classic fairy tale turned into one of the most catastrophic flops in modern Hollywood history. The entertainment world was jolted when rumors surfaced that Disney CEO Bob Iger had allegedly fired Rachel Zegler, the face of Disney's upcoming Snow White live-action remake, from all future projects. Not just Snow White, everything. We're talking voiceover work for Toy Story 5, her rumored involvement in the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, and even potential spin-offs related to the Disney Princess franchise. In a world where Disney once crowned their princesses as brand ambassadors for a generation.
So one thing about Bob Iger is that we know that he is now in complete damage control mode as well as double down mode to really just try and attempt to fix this movie as much as possible, to lie to the audience.
This is truly, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go.
One major development going on now involves more to do with the Rachel Zegler firing situation that took place in her recent behavior toward both Disney and toward the critics.
Snow White, there's been an enormous amount of controversy surrounding Snow White, obviously.
This was more than just a pink slip, it was a very public dethroning. And although the official word from Disney cited creative differences, insiders whispered a much messier tale, filled with box office nightmares, internal panic, and a fandom rebellion unlike anything the studio had seen in years. To truly understand this meltdown, we have to roll back the curtain and look at the early warning signs that Disney executives either missed or ignored. Even before the movie hit theaters, test screenings for Snow White were reportedly setting off alarm bells so loud you could probably hear them from Cinderella's castle itself. Early viewers complained about awkward pacing, flat jokes, and a muddled storyline that couldn't seem to decide whether it wanted to empower its heroine or trap her in the old damsel in distress trope. It would mean the world to me if you could hit that subscribe button. I'm just 30 subscribers away from monetization, and every single one of you brings me closer to this dream. Thank you so much for your support. Meanwhile, early box office projections for the film were shockingly low for a Disney live-action remake. Some estimates suggested an opening weekend of $48 to $58 million, and it didn't even hit that modest bar. Final first weekend tally sat embarrassingly at around $43 million, a number so small it made the dwarf's cottage look like a palace in comparison.
Minecraft in the United States in one weekend made more money than Snow White has made globally after 3 weekends.
It got destroyed at the box office. Here's the box office numbers. The Minecraft movie made $60 million on Saturday. Snow White made $2 million.
For context, Beauty and the Beast 2017 pulled in over $170 million in its opening weekend. So yeah, this wasn't just a stumble. It was a faceplant. Inside Disney, emergency meetings were reportedly called as the execs tried desperately to figure out where everything had gone wrong. Bob Iger, the titan who once steered Disney to unprecedented success by acquiring Marvel, Pixar, and Lucasfilm, now found himself steering a very different kind of ship, one taking on water fast. Insiders describe panicked conference calls, furious strategy sessions, and a lot of blame being thrown around. But while corporate heads spun in circles, the real problem was brewing deep within the heart of the production itself. If you thought the movie just bombed because of poor marketing, think again. Snow White 2025 was a production nightmare from the very start. In an attempt to modernize the beloved 1937 animated classic, Disney executives greenlit massive changes to the story, but instead of creating a cohesive vision, the result was a Frankenstein's monster of a movie. Scripts were rewritten on the fly. Scenes were res-hot multiple times with wildly different tones. One cut had Snow White as a fierce, sword-wielding warrior. Another had her dreamy-eyed and helpless. Inconsistent direction confused the actors, the costume designers, even the cinematographers. Everyone was reportedly asking, wait, which version of the story are we telling again? And then came the dwarf controversy. Originally, Disney announced that they would be replacing the traditional 7 dwarfs with magical creatures of various sizes and backgrounds, citing concerns about reinforcing stereotypes. This decision backfired spectacularly after actor Peter Dinklage, himself a prominent figure in the little person community, criticized the move as progressive in one way but backward in another.
They're remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs, okay?
Okay, but what do they call them?
Why would they get rid of the dwarves, though?
Magical
creatures. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures.
They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
So, Disney pivoted, and not very gracefully. They attempted to digitally shrink full-sized actors using CGI to play the dwarfs. The result? Well, according to insiders, it looked downright ridiculous, and audiences who glimpsed leaked footage online roasted it mercilessly. But wait, it gets worse. Even with the troubled production, Disney's marketing machine swung into full force. They flooded social media, billboards, streaming ads, declaring Snow White as the #1 movie in the world before it had even launched widely. However, once opening weekend arrived, reality hit hard. Photos of empty theaters during prime time circulated online faster than a magic carpet ride. Retailers who had stocked up on plush dwarfs, Snow White dolls, and collectors' merchandise found themselves slashing prices by half within days, and still struggling to sell. Some even resorted to buy one, get one free promotions to clear shelves. Instead of a new merchandising empire like Frozen, Snow White 2025 had become an industry punchline. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler herself wasn't exactly winning fans in the lead-up to the premiere. In multiple interviews, Zegler expressed disdain for the original 1937 Snow White film.
No longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White prince. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
I am in the thick of rehearsals for Romeo plus Juliet, so I'm going to get out of here. Bye for now. The Variety story notes how a couple of minutes after posting this, she replied to her own tweet and wrote, "And always remember, free Palestine."
Describing Prince Charming as a guy who stalks her and suggesting that her version of Snow White wouldn't be saved by a prince or dreaming about true love. Intended or not, the comments came off as dismissive and even mocking to generations of Disney fans who treasured the original movie. Social media exploded, with hashtags like #NotMySnowWhite and #FireRachelZegler trending for weeks. Disney, already reeling from the test screenings and negative press, allegedly made last-minute decisions to re-edit the film, cutting Zegler's empowering monologues and scrambling to tone down overtly political messaging. In private, insiders say Rachel Zegler grew increasingly frustrated. Scenes she had championed were trimmed to oblivion. Her promised character arc was lost in the messy shuffle of studio politics. Some sources claim she expressed her disappointment off the record, but by that point, the damage was done. And when Disney needed someone to scapegoat for the disaster, Zegler, already unpopular with sections of the fandom, became the easiest target. Behind the scenes, however, the fallout exposed a far deeper problem: Disney's identity crisis. Veteran creatives within the company began quietly asking the big, uncomfortable question: who are we anymore? Once upon a time, Disney built its empire on simple, heartfelt stories, tales that transcended politics and trends, focusing on universal human emotions like love, courage, and hope. Now, the studio seems trapped in a cycle of endlessly remaking its old classics, trying to modernize them to fit ever-shifting cultural expectations, and often alienating everyone in the process. The Snow White debacle became a red alert moment not just for Disney, but for the whole entertainment industry. If Disney, the gold standard for family entertainment, could fumble this badly, what does that say about the future of Hollywood reboots and remakes? Already, there are rumblings across town. Other studios are reportedly rethinking their own reboot-heavy slates. Executives are looking nervously at The Little Mermaid, Hercules, and Moana live-action plans, wondering if audiences have simply had enough. In the end, Snow White 2025 didn't just underperform, it became a symbol. A symbol of what happens when corporate strategies drown out creative instincts. When timeless tales are gutted for focus group-approved messaging. When marketing departments try to spin a broken product into gold, hoping that nostalgia alone will cover the cracks. But nostalgia, it turns out, is a fragile thing. Break it too many times, and it doesn't come back. Today, the Mouse House is left licking its wounds. Rachel Zegler is reportedly cut loose from future Disney projects. Bob Iger faces mounting pressure to correct the ship, not just by doubling down on safe bets, but by reigniting the authentic storytelling spark that once made Disney the most beloved brand on earth. Whether he can pull off another magic trick remains to be seen. So, is there a fairy tale ending waiting somewhere on the horizon? Maybe. Disney has weathered disasters before, from the failure of the Black Cauldron in the 80s to the box office bust of John Carter in the 2010s. But this time feels different. This time, the fans aren't just disappointed, they're disillusioned, they're angry, and worse, they're indifferent. Perhaps the real moral of this cautionary tale is simple. When you forget the heart behind the story, when you chase trends instead of dreams, even the biggest castle can start to crumble. And no magic mirror can hide that truth forever. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Disney can still salvage its reputation after the Snow White debacle? Or has the magic mirror finally cracked beyond repair? Drop your opinions and hot takes in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps the channel and keeps the magic alive. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed, right here on Hollywood Scoop.